There are moments in life when time doesn't move the way it usually does. Moments when the world becomes quiet, your breath becomes heavy, your heart beats slower, and you feel a presence that is not of this world. Tonight, I want you to imagine one of those moments you are sitting alone, perhaps at the end of a long day, in a room that has seen many versions of you, your tears, your laughter, your silent prayers. The air feels still, the light feels dim, and for a reason you cannot explain, your soul feels open. And then something happens, not a sound, not a knock, not a phone call, but something deeper, something sacred, a feeling, a voice, a whisper, a presence you once knew, a presence you once touched, a presence you once loved with all your heart, someone who is no longer on this earth, someone whose absence changed the way you breathe, someone who now lives in heaven. And their voice reaches you not through your ears, but through your soul, saying, "You have 3 minutes left. Please open." In that instant, your entire world seems to balance on a single moment. Your heart tightens, your eyes fill, your breath catches. Because this is not imagination, this is not memory, this is love. Love that has crossed from eternity into time. And they are not asking you to open a door or a message or a forgotten box. They are asking you to open something far more difficult. They are asking you to open your heart. You see, life teaches us to close our hearts. Pain teaches us to shut down. Betrayal teaches us to build walls. Loss teaches us to fear attachment. And the world, with all its noise and disappointments, teaches us to pretend we are strong even when we are breaking inside. But heaven sees what earth cannot. Heaven sees the nights you cry quietly so no one hears. Heaven sees the battles you fight without telling anyone. Heaven sees the love you give without receiving the same in return. Heaven sees the strength you carry even when you feel empty. And that loved one, the one whose voice you would give the world to hear again, steps into that moment to remind you of something you have forgotten. You are still alive. In those 3 minutes, their message is not about death. It is about life. They say, open your heart because you are holding too much. Open your heart because you have buried your pain and called it strength. Open your heart because the world still needs the love you are afraid to give. Open your heart because the people who are still with you deserve to feel the softness you've been hiding. Open your heart because you were not created to walk through life closed, guarded, and wounded. And then they remind you of the things we forget far too easily. Forgive quickly, speak honestly, love deeply, let go gracefully, and never delay the words that can heal someone's soul. They tell you that time is not endless, that life is not guaranteed, that tomorrow is never promised. They tell you that every moment you waste on bitterness is a moment stolen from love. Every moment you waste on fear is a moment stolen from possibility. Every moment you waste on silence is a moment stolen from connection. And as the 3 minutes approach their end, they leave you with the most beautiful truth. I am with you. I am watching over you. I am proud of you. But your story is still being written. Your journey is not finished. Open your heart and live. And so, in conclusion, the message of these 3 minutes is not a warning, it is a gift. A reminder that life is fragile, love is precious, and hearts are meant to stay open even after they have been broken. Do not wait for the last 3 minutes to realize what truly matters. Open your heart today, love today, forgive today, live today. Because when your final 3 minutes come, the only thing that will matter is how deeply you dare to open your heart while you were still here. There are times in life when we move so fast, think so loud, and worry so much that we forget the simplest truth. One day, every heartbeat we have will become a memory. Today, I want you to slow down with me for a moment, not with your body, but with your soul. Imagine yourself walking through a quiet evening, the kind of evening that carries a strange calm in the air. You don't know why, but something feels different. The light feels softer, the world feels quieter, and deep inside, your heart feels like it is waiting for something. Something you cannot name, but something you can feel. Then, without warning, a presence enters the room of your spirit. Not a shadow, not a figure, but a feeling. A warmth that does not belong to this world. A familiar tenderness that breaks you before it comforts you. You know this presence, you have loved this presence, you have lost this presence. And now they speak to you, not with the sound of a voice, but with the language of the heart. They say only a few words, yet they shake your entire existence. You have 3 minutes left. Please open. In that moment, everything around you fades. The noise of life disappears. The pain of your past falls silent. The worries of your future lose their grip. You are standing between two worlds, one of time and one of eternity. The words they speak are simple, but their meaning is enormous. Please open. Open what? Your eyes? Your hands? No. They are asking you to open the one thing you have kept locked for far too long, your heart. You see, life closes us without asking for permission. Someone breaks our trust and the heart closes. Someone leaves us without explanation and the heart closes. Someone dies and the heart closes. Someone lies, someone disappoints us, someone betrays us, and the heart closes even more. We begin to walk through life numb, guarded, pretending to be strong while secretly collapsing inside. And we convince ourselves that this is survival. But the one who speaks from heaven knows the truth. It is not survival. It is slow death. So they use these 3 minutes wisely. They speak to you with the kind of clarity only heaven carries. They tell you that you are allowed to open again. You are allowed to feel again. You are allowed to love again. They remind you that pain is not a prison, it is a teacher. They remind you that losing someone you love is not the end of love. It is the beginning of a deeper connection. One, that no distance, no time, no death can ever break. They remind you that the heart you buried behind fear is still alive, still capable of healing, still capable of giving, still capable of receiving. And then, as the 3 minutes begin to fade, their message becomes more urgent, more tender, more real. They tell you to forgive before life takes away the chance. They tell you to speak your truth before silence becomes regret. They tell you to treasure the people who stand by your side now, not later. They tell you to stop carrying battles that do not belong to you. They tell you to stop hiding behind the mask of strength that is slowly suffocating you. They tell you to live not with caution, but with courage. When their presence begins to fade back into eternity, they leave you with one final truth. My time ended, but yours hasn't. Don't waste the gift I no longer have. And so, in conclusion, the message of this moment is not to mourn the past, but to awaken the present. You are still here. You still have time. You still have breath. Open your heart, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Because when your own final 3 minutes arrive, the only thing that will matter is how wide your heart lived while it had the chance. There are moments in life when the ordinary becomes extraordinary. When the world around you slows down just long enough for you to feel something deeper than thought, deeper than memory, deeper than pain. Tonight, I want you to enter one of those rare moments with me. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a quiet evening, perhaps looking out a window or sitting alone in a place where your heart has learned to hide. You are not expecting anything. You are simply breathing, simply existing, simply passing through another day. And then, without warning, the atmosphere around you changes. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's subtle, almost sacred. A stillness settles over your spirit. The kind of stillness that feels heavy yet holy at the same time. You look around, but nothing in the room explains it. And yet your heart knows. Your soul recognizes something before your mind understands it. A warmth rises in your chest. A softness wraps around you, and a presence fills the air. A presence you once loved with every piece of your being. A presence you lost. A presence that now lives somewhere you cannot reach with your hands, but only with your heart. Someone who has crossed into heaven. Someone whose absence carved a permanent space inside your life. Someone whose voice you never expected to hear again. Yet now you feel it not as sound, but as truth. And the message comes gently, powerfully, unmistakably. You have 3 minutes left. Please open. Those words strike you like lightning wrapped in tenderness. You freeze. You don't move. You don't breathe. Because you know exactly what they mean, even if you don't yet know how to respond. For years, maybe months, maybe days, you've been walking through life with a heart that is bruised, guarded, shut down. You've built walls without realizing it. You've carried wounds without healing them. You've moved forward with strength, yes, but a strength built on hiding, not on freedom. And this loved one, this soul who sees you from beyond time, asks you to open the heart you have kept closed. They know why you closed it. They know every pain you never spoke, every tear you wiped alone, every disappointment that made you retreat, every goodbye that shattered something inside you. They know the silence you carry, the weight you pretend is light, the battles you fight without letting anyone see. They know the moments you questioned your worth, your direction, your purpose, and they come to you in these 3 sacred minutes, not to remind you of your brokenness, but to remind you of your belonging. They tell you that your life is not finished. They tell you that you still have love to give, even if you are afraid. They tell you that opening your heart is not weakness, it is courage. They tell you that healing is possible, that forgiveness is necessary, that grace is powerful. They tell you that you are not alone, not abandoned, not forgotten. They tell you that heaven has not turned its face away from you. And finally, they tell you that your time is still active, still purposeful, still meaningful. Their time ended, but yours continues. They want you to live with the kind of bravery they now see clearly from the other side. As these 3 minutes slip toward their end, the presence begins to fade, but the message becomes stronger. They remind you that life is fragile and hearts are sacred. They remind you that time is unpredictable and love is eternal. They remind you that closing your heart may protect you from pain, but it also protects you from joy. And with one final whisper, they leave you with a truth that changes everything. Open your heart. Do not wait. Your story is still being written. And so, in conclusion, these 3 minutes are a gift, an invitation to return to yourself, to reopen what life has tried to shut, to breathe again with hope instead of fear. Open your heart now, not later, not someday, because when your own final 3 minutes come, the only regret you will fear is the love you never allowed yourself to feel. There are moments in life when the veil between this world and the next feels thinner than a breath. Moments when something inside us senses that we are being watched over, guided, protected, even when we cannot see anything with our eyes. Tonight, I want you to enter such a moment. Imagine yourself sitting in a quiet space, perhaps alone, perhaps after a long day, perhaps at a time when your heart feels heavy with thoughts you don't speak out loud. The room around you is still, the air is calm, and suddenly something changes. Not a sound, not a movement, but a feeling. A sense that you are not alone. A sensation that touches your heart before it reaches your mind. A presence you know better than your own reflection. It is someone you once loved deeply. Someone you lost. Someone whose absence created a silence in your life that nothing else has ever filled. Someone who now lives in heaven. Someone who walked through your life, touched your soul, and left a mark that time has never been able to erase. And though they are gone from the world you can see, their love reaches across eternity to speak to you now. And with a voice that feels like memory wrapped in light, they say, "You have 3 minutes left. Please open." Those words freeze you. They disarm you. They shake you gently but undeniably, because you know exactly what they're asking, even before you let yourself admit it. For so long, you have walked through life half open, half guarded, half alive. You've experienced moments of joy, but you have not allowed yourself to embrace them fully. You've had opportunities for love, but you kept one foot in and one foot out. You've had chances to heal, but you hesitated because the wounds felt safer than the risk of reopening them. Somewhere along the way, you began living with a heart that shuts itself automatically whenever it senses pain. But this person, this soul who sees you from heaven, knows the weight you carry. They know how you've been trying to survive instead of live. They know the fear behind your silence, the exhaustion behind your strength, the longing behind your indifference. They know how many nights you wished for comfort but refused to ask for it. They know how many moments you hid your tears because you didn't want anyone to worry. They know how many days you've pushed forward, even when your spirit felt like it was standing still. So in these 3 holy minutes, they ask you to open, not for them, but for you. They tell you that your life is not meant to be lived behind emotional walls. They tell you that love is worth the risk, connection is worth the vulnerability, forgiveness is worth the discomfort. They tell you to let go of the weight that has been crushing your soul, to let go of the guilt that never belonged to you, to let go of the fears that have kept your heart locked away from joy. They remind you that you are allowed to heal. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to start again. As the minutes pass, the presence begins to fade, but their words grow stronger in your spirit. They tell you that every moment of life is precious, fragile, unpredictable. They tell you that closing your heart will not protect you from pain. It will only prevent you from experiencing the miracles waiting for you. They remind you that heaven is not far, love is not lost, and hope is not gone. And with their final whisper, they leave you with a truth you cannot forget. Open your heart, because the world still needs the light inside you. And so in these 3 minutes are not a warning but a blessing. A reminder that you are still here, still breathing, still capable of love, healing, and transformation. Open your heart now while life still gives you the gift of time. Because when your final 3 minutes arrive, the only thing you will wish for is that you had opened it sooner. There comes a moment in every life when the noise of the world becomes quiet enough for the soul to finally speak. A moment when your heart, tired from carrying years of unspoken pain, slows down long enough to listen. Tonight, I want you to imagine that moment. You are alone, not in a sad way, but in a way that makes you aware of your own breathing, your own heartbeat, your own existence. Maybe you are sitting on your bed, maybe standing by a window, maybe lost in memories you didn't ask to remember. But suddenly a stillness enters the room, a stillness that feels different from silence, a stillness that feels alive. And in that stillness, you sense a presence that is both familiar and otherworldly. A presence you loved, a presence you lost, a presence that now lives in heaven. It isn't a voice you hear with your ears. It is a voice you feel inside, the kind of voice you can only recognize with your soul. And it speaks only a few words, but those words carry a lifetime within them. You have 3 minutes left. Please open. Instantly, everything inside you shifts. You stand between the world you know and the world you can only feel. Your chest tightens, your eyes burn, your breath catches, because this is not memory, this is not imagination, this is connection, pure, spiritual, undeniable connection. And you know this message is not about opening a door or a book or a memory. It is about opening something deeper, more fragile, more sacred. It is about opening your heart. For so long you have lived with pieces of yourself hidden away. You've carried wounds that you never allowed to heal. You've let fear make decisions your courage should have made. You've let old pain shape new days. You've laughed without joy, spoken without truth, loved without safety, and survived without feeling alive. Somewhere along the way, you stopped believing that your heart deserved to be open. Somewhere along the way, life taught you to protect yourself by closing the very part of you that made you human. But this loved one, this soul watching you from heaven, sees what you cannot see. They see the love still trapped inside you. They see the forgiveness you've been holding back. They see the dreams you stopped chasing because someone once convinced you they were impossible. They see the compassion you give to others but refuse to give yourself. They see the version of you that still exists beneath the fear, the pain, the disappointments. And with only 3 minutes, they ask you to open, not because you are weak, but because you are stronger than you realize. They remind you of everything you've forgotten, that love is worth the risk, that vulnerability is not a threat but an invitation, that healing begins the moment you stop pretending you don't need it. They remind you that life is not measured in years but in heartbeats, not in accomplishments but in connection, not in perfection but in presence. They remind you that every moment you stay close is a moment you lose, not from your past but from your future. As the 3 minutes begin to fade, their message becomes even clearer. They want you to live with the kind of openness they can see from heaven. They want you to give love freely, receive love fully, forgive without delay, and speak without fear. They want you to stop carrying burdens that do not belong to you. They want you to stop hiding from the world when you were created to be a light within it. And with their final whisper, they leave you with a truth you will carry for the rest of your life. Open your heart. Do it now. Life is shorter than you think, but more beautiful than you know. And so, in these 3 minutes are a divine reminder that you still have time. Time to change, time to heal, time to open, time to truly live. Don't wait until life forces you to realize what matters. Open your heart now, because one day when your own final 3 minutes arrive, the only thing that will matter is how bravely you chose to love while you had the chance. There are moments in life when God doesn't speak through thunder or miracles or burning bushes. Sometimes He speaks through the quiet things, the small things, the things we almost overlook, a gentle shift in the air, a feeling in the chest, a memory that suddenly returns with warmth instead of pain, a whisper in your spirit that doesn't come from your mind. And in those moments you realize that heaven is not as far away as you once feared. Tonight, I want you to imagine such a moment when the veil between this world and the next becomes thin enough for your soul to feel what your eyes cannot see. You're sitting alone again, not lonely, but aware of something greater than yourself, aware of something watching over you, aware of someone you miss more than you admit. You don't hear a voice, yet you understand something. You don't see anyone, yet you feel a presence. You don't ask a question, yet somehow an answer arrives. It arrives not in words, but in realization. A realization that the person you lost is not gone from your story. A realization that their love didn't end with their last breath. A realization that their journey didn't conclude where your grief began. They are not a memory. They are not an absence. They are a presence, a living, breathing, eternal presence that walks with you in ways you never understood before. They walk with you in moments where you feel weak, reminding you of the strength you inherited. They walk with you in choices you fear making, reminding you of the courage you forgot you had. They walk with you in heartbreak, whispering the truth that love is still possible. They walk with you in silence, filling what feels empty with meaning you cannot explain. This is the keynote of awakening, a call to recognize that the universe is not random, that destiny is not accidental, that your life is not unfolding without divine orchestration. Everything that left you made space for what is coming. Everything that broke you carved room for growth. Everything that hurt you taught your soul what your mind could never understand. And this presence, this loved one, this guiding soul is trying to help you see what you've been missing. That the path you fear walking is exactly the path you were born for. That the storm you survived did not break you, it shaped you. That the chapters you lost are not wasted, they prepared you. That the pain you carry is not a punishment, it is a transition into a wiser, deeper, more awakened version of yourself. You have spent so long trying to figure out why certain things happened the way they did, why certain people left, why certain dreams didn't unfold when you wanted them to. But the message from heaven is simple. Not everything was meant to stay, but everything was meant to teach. And the soul you miss is watching you now. Not with sadness, not with regret, but with pride. Because they see what you cannot see yet. They see your potential rising. They see your strength returning. They see your heart opening slowly, gently, courageously. They see the future waiting for you, a future brighter than the winters you've endured. And they want you to trust that the path ahead is safe, guided, protected, and blessed. In the sixth keynote reminds you that you are never walking alone. Even in the darkest moments, heaven is sending signs, guidance, and love through the quiet corners of your life. Your loved one is not gone. They are simply in a higher room of the same house, cheering you on, protecting your steps, and preparing your blessings. Trust the journey now. Trust the presence you feel. Trust that you are being led exactly where your soul is destined to bloom. There comes a moment in every human life when silence becomes louder than sound, when stillness speaks the truth that noise has been hiding, when the heart hears something the ears cannot. And in that sacred, delicate moment, you realize that grief is not the end of love. It is simply love with nowhere to go. But tonight, something changes. Tonight, you feel a call from a realm beyond time, beyond suffering, beyond separation. A presence touches your spirit gently, like a familiar hand resting on your shoulder. You do not see them, yet somehow you know exactly who it is. You know their warmth, you know their peace, and you know the love they once poured into you is still alive. It is them, the one who left this world but never left your heart. And in this silent encounter, they ask you for something simple, something profound, to open. Open what? Open your eyes, your mind, your future? No, they ask you to open your heart because they see what you have been hiding from others. They see the heaviness you carry, the disappointments you bury behind your smile, the fears you disguise as strength. They see the nights you stay awake pretending to be okay. They see the dreams you abandon because life bruised you too deeply. They see the love you hesitate to give because you fear losing again. But from where they stand now, in a place untouched by time or sorrow, They see the entire picture. They see who you were before heartbreak taught you to close off. They see who you can become if you dare to open again. They see the version of you that God is shaping quietly, patiently, lovingly, and so they ask you to open, because closed hearts cannot receive blessings. Closed hearts cannot feel joy. Closed hearts cannot grow, cannot breathe, cannot rise. They ask you to open because they know that the life waiting ahead of you is far greater than the life you are mourning behind you. They know the wounds you carry are not meant to define you, but refine you. They know your story did not end when theirs did. You still have chapters unwritten, destinies unexplored, miracles unclaimed, and they want you to know this clearly. You are not honoring their memory by staying broken. You are not honoring what you shared by staying afraid. They did not love you so you could live your days half alive. They loved you so you could continue, expand, flourish, and rise. And if you truly listen, you will feel it. Their encouragement, their protection, their pride in how far you've come, despite how much you've lost. They see every battle you've survived silently. They see the bravery in the way you keep waking up, the courage in the way you still hope, even if only a little. From heaven they whisper, open your heart, because you deserve a life that feels alive again. You deserve joy that doesn't scare you. You deserve peace that stays. You deserve to breathe without guilt, laugh without hesitation, and love without fear. They are not telling you to forget them. They are telling you to remember them correctly. Remember that their love for you didn't die, it transformed. In is a gentle but powerful reminder that heaven is not asking you to move on, but to move forward. Not to erase the love, but to expand because of it. Your loved one is not asking you to close your heart to protect yourself. They are asking you to open it so life can finally enter again. Open it to healing. Open it to hope. Open it to becoming everything they always believed you could become. They are with you, guiding you, cheering for you. And all they want is for you to live fully, bravely, beautifully, because that is how their love continues.